Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Williams. I am a special advisor with the State Department's Economic and Energy Bureau. I am one of the people that helped organize this, as well as the ministerial tomorrow. We welcome all of you to the CSIS event. When we first contemplated the ministerial, there was not a thought of having a business event. It's like, how can we do mining ministerial without business? So I'm so grateful to CSIS for hosting this and working with us to bring this and make this event a part of our ministerial. So I'm here today to talk with our friends from USTDA and from
Lilac Solutions.
Raef from Lilac Solutions. And we're here to talk about how TDA works with business to unlock investment. So first I'd like, Tom, would you please explain to our audience what USTDA does and what is your mission?
Sure, thank you very much. Let me begin by, again, thanking CSIS. I'll frame what I'm going to say, kind of what's already been talked about. The administration, the president's been very clear. Critical minerals is the driver. And working with the White House, they've given us direct metrics that we have to hit on what we need to invest. Where does USTDA fit into the puzzle? We just heard from the Export-Import Bank. You'll hear later from the Development Finance Corporation. USTDA is the first mover. We have grant capital with the express purpose of financing project preparation for infrastructure development. What does that mean? We take the earliest risk in infrastructure development. Critical minerals is a driver for our program. We expect over 30% of our programming this upcoming year dedicated to critical minerals development. So USTDA can finance feasibility studies, design engineering, front-end design engineering. What we'll talk about with Lilac Solutions is financing American technologies, American solutions to pilot technologies in emerging markets to demonstrate how to extract minerals that are critical for both economic security and national security. As an agency, for those that know of us, USDA has long been known as the agency designed to open up markets for American exports of goods and services. In this administration, we've taken another layer of analysis of what we're doing is not necessarily only for economic security for the United States, but looking at national security. And that's at the heart of where our program is focused in critical minerals, is how do we bring companies like Lilac, other technology providers, mining interests into emerging markets to help them expand their production, help them extract more minerals to be able to feed into the Western supply chains.
Fantastic, thank you. Raef, I'm really interested to hear what does Lilac Solutions do, and tell us just a bit about, introduce us and our audience to Lilac Solutions.
I'd love to, thank you. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you very much. So Lilac Solutions is focused on lithium extraction from brine, or direct lithium extraction, or DLE. We've been around since 2016, and our focus is bringing to the market a technology for DLE that is a step change over and above the current existing technology. Just one little factoid out there, if you look at a kilogram of the material that we produce to extract lithium, and you look at how much lithium you can extract from that 1 kilogram, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 times better than the existing. But it's a new technology, and where we're at today, we've been through a number of field pilots in different countries. We've tested over 90 different brines globally. We've done 2 demonstration plants. The largest one of those demonstration plants, the central extraction unit, was about 1/3 the scale of a commercial facility. And now we are raising funds to build our first commercial facility in Utah. And just one little bit too, we like to think of ourselves as the only option you've got if you want to have a homegrown solution for DLE. The beads were developed at our facility in Oakland, California. That's where the technology's been developed in the last 10 years. We make the active ingredient that is so effective at extracting lithium in our facility in Nevada, and our first commercial production facility will be on the Great Salt Lake in Utah.
Excellent.
So despite my accent, we're homegrown, okay?
Very good. So tell me, Tom, Raef, how is USTDA and Lilac Solutions working together, and what is exactly that you're doing that is brought you to this stage right here today?
Sure. No, let me thank you, and good question. I think one of the unique things about the U.S. Trade Development Agency is we're designed to take both economic risk and technology risk. And we're working with Lilac. USTDA, as a U.S. government agency, is putting $4 million into the piloting of Lilac Solutions technology, looking at geothermal brine in Indonesia and testing it to see, is this going to be a commercial opportunity for them to take their commercial, what they're building as a commercial facility in Salt Lake City, and build it something similar in Indonesia. And that's where USTDA is so uniquely positioned, is we can take that risk, putting in money to support the piloting of American technology that is helping our national security, but also is helping our economic security, because these projects will also support exports of American goods and services when this project is built. I'll let Raef talk about the connection and how we met and the work we did with the embassy, but you come from the embassy in Malaysia. What was possible with this relationship came out of our partnership with the U.S. State Department and the embassies, but I'll let Raef talk.
No, that's right. So we were introduced to USTDA from two fronts. One was via the Department of Commerce, and the other was the Indonesian embassy. And so we struck up a relationship with the company. Am I allowed to name them or not?
The Indonesian embassy here in D.C.?
No, in
the
Jakarta.
U.S. embassy in Jakarta. Got it.
Yeah, the company's Geodeepa. They have geothermal assets. They're looking to generate electricity from the geothermal assets and lithium. And our technology is uniquely positioned to be able to extract the lithium from what is low TDS brine and low concentrations of lithium. We think we can do it economically. But, to Thomas's point, it's a new technology. We're not in commercial production somewhere. So it would have been very hard for Geodeepa to pay us to come and do it, given that it's new technology. Because USDA, he was able to step in, they're able to accept that risk, and now Geodeepa is very happy to have us there doing the piloting and the engineering. So it's accelerating adoption of the technology and accelerating the adoption of the technology overseas.
So Tom, one of the things you mentioned was grant.
Yep.
Like, explain more to the audience about the grant concept and why does TDA deal in grants?
Sure. USDA is a government agency appropriated money by Congress with the express purpose of, as Raef was saying, speeding up infrastructure projects to market. So USTDA, through its grant funding, is taking the earliest phase of the capital stack, grant funding in emerging markets to help projects go from a concept to financing. So we really play in that middle, the beginning area, which provides, it sounds like it could be a small part, but the breadth of programming that USTDA can take on is almost mind-numbing. We can be involved in the pre-feasibility study. We can step in and finance the feasibility study with grant funding. In the case of Lilac Solutions, we're actually financing the piloting of American technologies in Indonesia. But it's more than that. We can finance engineering services. We could hire legal advisory services to negotiate offtake agreements, financial firms, to bring in specific financing firms. But all of that is made possible through our grant programming. And what we're looking for is a good partner in an emerging market that is looking to U.S. technology, U.S. solutions, and wanting to work with American companies to make their goal of being more involved in the critical minerals ecosystem.
You know, USTDA has a reputation of being this incredible multiplier. Give our audience here and the audience that is live streaming this a couple of examples where TDA has, for some of these smaller grants, have created really large results.
Sure, I think it won't be a surprise with this administration's focus on critical minerals. Work with Lilac is one of the first ones. We have a similar nickel cobalt processing facility working on the Philippines. Just last month with Senator Ted Cruz, we signed an agreement for cobalt and copper cobalt manufacturing processing in Zambia. So these are the types of investments that already USTDA has made. And part of it is restructuring. Over the last year, we've rethought how do we streamline our processes. As David talked about, part of it is how do we do things more quickly. So we've made a commitment to commit at least over the next year and a half to 8 additional projects like we have with Lilac, to be able to speed to market these projects, to make it possible that we can hopefully start filling the vault that John talked about at the Export-Import Bank.
Excellent, thank you. Raef, what was your experience at Lilac Solutions working with USTDA? Both the positives and the negatives, if there were any.
So honestly, it's been a really positive experience. I was always worried as a CEO, and I've had a lot of experience in industry, working for other larger companies, and dealing with government was always something you worried about, okay? But coming into USDA, it's been almost like having a private partner. It's gone very, very smoothly. There's a lot of understanding, a lot of interest up front to understand what we can do and how that matches USTDA's objectives. And so, having established pretty early on that what we were trying to do here, help an Indonesian energy company extract lithium and develop geothermal in Indonesia, was right down the fairway. And so there's been no issues. The one issue was the government shutdown, which put it back about a month. Okay.
I'm happy to say I understand this government
shutdown
is over.
And look, the team are never shy to come and tell me if they've got an issue with something, right? Right? Never shy about that. And honestly, I haven't heard them complain once. Okay. And this is a 3-way agreement.
Yeah.
So there's a.
So tell us how Indonesia and the government of Indonesia and the Indonesian partner were involved in all of this. How did that was TDA? How did the whole team, if you will, work together to Indonesia's notoriously difficult to work in. So how did that go? Tell us about that process.
I'll let you start because you brought the partners together with yourselves to us. So I'll let.
I didn't have any problems. I'm telling you, I've got a good team. They're really smart and sharp, and there was a very clear objective, right? Lithium extraction and power generation from an asset that was there, and we know what to do. We know the sequence of events to unlock it. We know what testing you've got to do, what engineering you've got to do from the initial brine sampling through to a pilot plant. And the team sat down with USTDA and with the partner Geodeepa, and it got sorted out. I didn't have to worry about it, okay? So I'm giving you the high-level CEO view, but it worked fine.
Sounds good to me.
But at the end of the day, the benefit really to the Indonesian partner is you're creating a new revenue stream out of their geothermal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, if it wasn't for USDA, let me just underline this point here. If it wasn't for them, I'm not sure we would have been able to do it on our own dime. Venture capital, very conscious about what we're spending our cash on. Our focus at the moment is getting this first commercial facility done. And if it wasn't for USDA, I don't think Geodeepa would have been able to take what essentially to them is a risk on the technology either. So for me, it's been catalytic. It wouldn't have happened without it. And for us, it's a force multiplier. I get to do something I wouldn't have been able to do before, and we get to accelerate the adoption somewhere else. And it sets us up as a foil in other markets outside of the US. We're getting good traction here with some projects here. If you go to places like Argentina, where there are a lot of resources, there are a lot of other non-American in this. And this now is accelerating the opportunity for people to see us as real and use us instead of someone else.
Right.
Let me add just one thing that I think is really important on this is that the reason why events like this, CSIS event and tomorrow's ministerial support, is because Lilac is one of many companies. There's companies in the audience here that may see an opportunity for work with USDA, also governments. Like we want to work with emerging market economies, both the governments and the private sector and U.S. industry. So I think these types of convenings help to feed our pipeline because at the end of the day, we are the first step. We can't do anything, we need the financing. So we're doing the early stage project, but it's designed to feed into DFC. It's designed to feed into XM. We have agreements with banks across the world, with multilaterals, with asset managers. So all of our work is designed to crowd in the capital, make this possible, particularly in the critical mineral space.
So I'm curious, so the investment's $3.88 million. So Raef, Lilac, what kind of revenues could be generated from this project? If it were, what would be the total investment to bring this 3.8 that it would create to take and make this, technology test into a real project?
Yeah, so let me go through a typical development pipeline, okay? And we've been going through this ourselves on GSL, and we're going through it with some other partners in other parts of the world. You start with a sample turning up in our laboratory of the brine, okay? And sometimes it's as big as a couple of bottles, and sometimes it's a couple of totes, okay? And then we test that in the brine on the technology, and we work out very quickly what the CapEx and the OpEx are likely to be. Now, if it passes that first stage gate, and that, by the way, testing, that's in the tens of thousands of dollars. If it passes that first stage, then we go on to do some preliminary engineering. Think of a couple $100,000. We do the preliminary engineering. If it still looks good at that point, we'll talk about a pilot on site. A lot of strange things happen between taking the brine out of the ground, putting it in a tote and bringing it to the laboratory. So the next thing after all that, if it's still looking good, is take a field pilot and build a field pilot. And we've built some containerized options for that. So the containers turn up, we hook it up to the source, and we test it in the field. So that's 2 or 3 orders of magnitude larger in volume than the laboratory. Now we're testing it in the field. That test in the field could somewhere be between $2 and $5 million, maybe even 10 or 20, depending on the size that you want. And then from there you go to a demonstration plant, which is in the $20 to $50 million range. And then after the demonstration plant, you're talking about a commercial facility that might be in the 10 to 20,000 ton range, and that's several hundred million.
Several hundred million. So a $3.8 million investment could turn into a several $100 million project.
Absolutely.
And out of that several $100 million project, how much of that would be, say, exports from the United States?
Well, in this case here, the material gets made in Nevada.
Okay.
And it's in the order of, $20 million a year of net profits. It's probably, think about, $50 million in revenue for the organisation for that one commercial facility. Okay. And we hope to replicate that. And again, I make the point that doing this with USDA accelerates that process. Maybe Geodeepa would have come to us and maybe we would have done something in 2 or 3 years. We're doing it now, and so we're advancing that.
Excellent.
Bringing it forward.
So Tom, tell us, what kind of critical minerals projects are best suited for USTDA? What are you guys looking for? What kind of deals are you wanting to source, and where are you putting your attention in the critical minerals space?
I will say I'm more of a taker than a maker, in the sense that I don't go into the market and say, I want to find this project. I want to learn what is the US technology, who is looking to look overseas, who are the partners in emerging markets that are looking to the United States to be the technology provider of interest. So part of our work is trying to be that matchmaker. Globally, we have an Indo-Pacific regional program, largest regional program we have, Sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East, North Africa, and then Latin America. Those are geographically the biggest our programs. We have dedicated teams within each of those regions focused on critical mineral development. So our job isn't necessarily to go out and try to tell countries or tell companies what they want. Our job is to be that matchmaker and figure out what can USTDA do to use a small amount of money, as we were just talking about, to be a catalyst for long-term exports of American goods and services, but as importantly, bringing new minerals to market that can support U.S. supply chains.
And so if one of the 100+ companies out here has a deal, what would they need to bring to you? At what stage would it need to be at to interest and to spur activity at USTDA?
Sure, I'll start with, I'm fortunate to have Andre Lupo, who is the head of our critical minerals sector team at the U.S. Trade and Development Agency. As an agency, we're only 70 people, small agency. It starts with a phone call to a regional team. It will get you directly to the person you want. An email, all of our contacts are on our website. What we're looking for is a good idea, a credible partner in an emerging market that has the rights to implement the project, has financial wherewithal to implement the project. And we don't even need necessarily a U.S. partner on the front end. USTDA can go out into the market and advertise these opportunities. And we do this on a regular basis. In Zambia right now, we're advertising to get an American company to go in and do the feasibility study on a copper cobalt project in Zambia. So it's great when we have US companies coming together with a local partner, but it's just as easily able to work directly with an emerging market partner with us, and then we can go out in the market and help find that US company that fits the bill that they're looking for.
So our foreign partners here in the audience could also be approaching
Absolutely.
USTDA
They should be.
with potential projects, and you might help them like matchmake and find US partners and US capital to bring the whole deal together.
Absolutely, and something Raef and I were talking about earlier, beyond this side of the grant program, one of the other areas that is really unique with the US Trade and Development Agency is what we call a reverse trade missions. So where we have a partner, a developer in an emerging market who's interested in American technology, interested in financing solutions from the United States, the U.S. Trade and Development Agency can step in and bring that buying delegation to the United States, set up meetings with companies like Lilac, the financial institutions, DFC, XM, and we can be that matchmaker to bring those developers to the United States to introduce some technologies that they may not even be aware of.
Fantastic. That's great. So what do you think is the most effective way for TDA, USTDA, and government, and companies to kind of join together and to create value, to create, opportunities?
I'll start with the easiest, and it's the one I always go back to. For U.S. companies, go on our website, sign up for our biweekly newsletter. Every other week, we send out a single email that will tell you all of the procurement opportunities that are dedicated for American companies, whether that's grant opportunities in emerging markets, whether that's contracting opportunities directly to the U.S. Trade and Development Agency to provide us the technical expertise that make projects with Lilac possible. It's just our biweekly newsletter. That is the easiest. And then I would be remiss if I didn't point out the importance of when companies are in emerging markets, that they go to the U.S. Embassy. Our commercial officers, our econ officers are the front lines for USTDA and all of the U.S. government back here to understand what's the opportunities out there.
Excellent. I really appreciate the plug. I am the economic counselor at our embassy in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So I appreciate the plug. Thank you, Tom. And Raef, just maybe one final question. So government industry partnerships. Tell me your feeling about that right now, and how, looking back, both of you been in the business a long time, and looking back, how do you think things have changed and are progressing right now from where we've been to where we are now, and where do you see us going 5 years from now in the future?
I love the trajectory of it. I mean, just the fact that I was able to sit in this conference today and listen to Project Bolt being talked about. I mean, these are things that I haven't seen before, to parrot Robert Friedland, there you go. I just hope that we continue on this very pragmatic approach to understanding that we consume every day these critical minerals, and it affects our lifestyle, and we need to make sure that we continue to make the extraction of those minerals and metals easier, so that we don't ever put ourselves in a situation where our freedoms and lifestyles can be impacted by foreign adversaries or governments who have, nefarious instincts. Okay, we need to make sure that we are. Freedom means having the freedom to act, and that means we need to do what we can to secure that freedom. Well stated. Well stated. Well, I'm going to let that be the final word for our fireside chat here today. Tom, Raef, thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
We really appreciate your words of wisdom.
Thank you.